We've been talking over a past few shows now. Some of the listeners have written in about their trials and tribulations, travails in trying to buy AEW tickets without mortgaging their house, and the different price structures and the different layouts in the buildings they were sending us, and also it's been discussed in a wide variety of places that they're not selling a lot of tickets to these upcoming tapings. And we said one may have something to do with the other. We got more information on not only AEW TV, house show, everything tickets. Would you like to hear from some of the other listeners?
Yeah, let me just say something, because I know you probably have some there. We got a ton of feedback after we talked about AEW ticket issues from listeners talking about their experiences either going or not being able to go just because the price didn't make sense to them.
Here's Ken from North Mississippi, who says, "Hey, Brian and Jim, I heard you talking about the unreal ticket prices for these AEW shows, and I can't help but agree. My 10-year-old son heard AEW House Rules was coming to Tupelo and wanted to go. Remember, this was one of the house shows, not even a TV.
It's like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, right?
Right. He says, so I did some checking for tickets. When I looked on the arena's website, the cheapest ticket was $69 plus fees. The prices ranged from $69 to $350 in Tupelo, Mississippi. I told him we couldn't go and was glad I did, because according to the Wrestling News, this was the card: Britt versus Ruby, Hobbs versus Spears, Dax versus Garcia, Statlander versus Anna Jay, Tony Storm versus Sky Blue, and the main event was Darby Allin and Pockets against Big Bill and the other Page."
So you're saying Anna Jay versus Statlander and a bunch of other matches.
There you go. So Ken goes on to say, "This is the home of Memphis wrestling, where we grew up watching Lawler, Dundee, the Fabs, etc. for tickets ranging from $5 to $20. Nobody's going to pay $75 plus to see a show like this. If someone hit you in the head, you still wouldn't see any stars."
That's the thing. I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's, I got off the ticket price thing just when you started running down the card, again, thanks to the Wrestling News, thewrestlingnews.com. And the question becomes, even if the tickets were $20, what are you giving them on that show that if you even watch Dynamite, you'd be really hot to see? It's all about see the people. Like, there's no big feud that they're working the house shows with. Like Dax versus Garcia, I'll bet that was a great match live. But it doesn't have anything to do with anything that's happening on TV.
It's training school matches.
With those prices. Then you throw in those prices.
Here's another one. The title is AEW Collision Greensboro Presale, or How I Learned to Just Stay Home and Watch for Free. Hi, Jim and Brian. Within the last few hours, the presale for AEW Collision began on Ticketmaster for their taping over at the Greensboro Coliseum on August 12th. Just this morning, I was listening to the experience, as I am wont to do at work, and heard my fellow cult member in Toronto complain about AEW's ticket prices for Collision. So I'm here to confirm that the crazy pills have been distributed south of the Mason-Dixon as well. I'm not a high roller, so I was looking at some lower bowl seats. First party prices for a lower bowl seat, just one, range from $80 for the higher seats, $192 for smack in the middle, to $380 for the front row. That's not the front row ringside, that's the front row of the lower bowl. Floor seats that are available at the moment of writing are priced at an affordable $620 before fees and applicable taxes. Who are these multimillionaires that are suddenly going to the wrestling matches?
Now, let's take a step back. I mean, this is so crazy. And I know that WWE has done well, especially in times where they didn't seem especially hot, because the people that went spent a lot of money on things, although apparently all these house shows have merch issues that we've heard about. Could it be the building cost?
Well, no.
Is causing... why price it like this? Is there a reason they have to do it that we're not thinking of?
Well, he says the question must be asked, are these prices being imposed by the venues? And no, that's not the case.
Yeah.
This is Wesley from Concord, North Carolina, in case I didn't mention his name. No, if you rent the building, you can let them in free or charge $1 million. The building doesn't care as long as you pay all the applicable fees that come with it, because they get a cut of it in many buildings, not every single one. But they get like a cut of the Ticketmaster fee and or the ticketing fee. The Knoxville Civic Coliseum in the 90s used to charge us like 50 cents for printing out the ticket that people bought. Right. So, but no, the building does not set these fees. Now, building rents, if you are renting, and the Greensboro Coliseum now seats over 20,000 people. If you're renting a building that you have to charge between $600 and $100 or whatever for every ticket just to pay the building, then you're renting the wrong fucking building. No, building rents are more expensive than they used to be, yes.
But how much could it be in Tupelo, Mississippi?
Well, that's the thing we talk about. Corbin, Kentucky, where I don't know how much that building rents for, but I illustrated there was a building 20 miles away that they could have rented for about $500 or maybe just a split on the concessions that seated as many people as they drew at that show. But nevertheless, there's no reason. Well, let me go to one more. Let me go to one more because this speaks to the scheduling issues we were talking about with even if you can sell tickets in a market, how many shows can you run in a market in the same period of time and sell tickets to all of them? This from George from Niagara Falls. There was originally just a Dynamite show booked for the Wednesday, the week they're in Ontario later on this month. They also added a taped Collision show for Thursday, the 29th. And then he says there's been zero promotion for the Collision taping. I received no info regarding Collision tickets, no bundles, no advertising, nothing. This is a guy that's apparently bought tickets and is on their website. Or not on their web, but is on their mailing list. And so there are two AEW shows on consecutive nights, Wednesday and Thursday, June 28th and 29th in Toronto. But in Hamilton, which as we mentioned he says 30 minutes, it's 40 miles, whatever the fuck. There's two more in Hamilton, Dynamite and Collision. So that makes 4 AEW shows in 6 days in that metropolitan area. And at these prices? And he says, I don't know who routed this, but it's an absolute shit show.
Even if you had like a Dynamite or a pay-per-view and you want to justify those prices for something like that, Dynamite, you're getting 5 hours, including 2 live on network TV. A pay-per-view is a pay-per-view. If you're running the next night or later the same week, even if the ticket prices were significantly lower, wouldn't the first show take so many people out of the running for the second show?
Yes. And what they've done is they advertise the pay-per-view first, right?
Forbidden Door.
Yeah.
In Toronto, yeah.
Well, goddamn, wait a minute. So one of those is the pay-per-view.
Yeah, Toronto.
Yeah, but no, I'm saying one of those, so they're taping Collision. They're taping Dynamite. They're at a pay-per-view. The pay-per-view came first, sold 12,000 tickets. Now they've added a clusterfuck of television tapings all around it. Is there 5 shows? There's 5 shows then. I don't know. The point is, if we're this goddamn confused and people are writing us trying to explain it to us and they don't know and they live there.
Here's another thing. Jace Nakarado brought up a great issue. Jace, of course, Arcadian Vanguard's wonderful Jace Nakarado, lives in Canada. He said if they're going all these shows for a month in Canada, does that mean the wrestlers are all going back and forth? Like
yes.
In terms of visa issues, is that going to cause any problems?
Oh, I doubt it because I'm pretty sure, they got a crack legal staff there at AEW.
Oh, I didn't know if you meant Canada. Well, you mean AEW, yes.
Yeah. No, Canada has a real crack legal staff, but they've got a crack legal staff. I'm sure all those T's are dotted and I's are crossed. No, that couldn't possibly lead to any problem. Unless if they just decide to pull somebody over and fucking run their record. But these guys and girls are so young and they've never actually been in the wrestling business. They probably don't have records. But no, that the point is they're back and forth across it because they can't make them live there for a fucking month. And I mean, they might stay Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or whatever, or this grouping, but they're not going to be there for a month going back and forth and into Saskatoon or wherever the fuck.
Maybe you could do something to christen the new show where Bret Hart shows up on the first week and announces that he's taken the entire roster of the show and they have to live in Canada and undergo the conditions he underwent growing up in order to make it on the new show.
Now that would be 2 hours of programming they could put on Saturday night that would draw viewers. But anyway, the point is,
FTR running in the snow, Will Hobbs cutting down a tree. I don't know what the hell goes on up there, but it could be great.
Lumberjack Hobbs.
Hey.
It'd be just as good as what they've done with him so far. He's got about as much connection to lumberjacks as he does to anything else. We don't know what his fucking deal is, except he's on a fake fucking TV show inside a fake TV show. But the point is, they're charging a fortune. They've got a lot of shows in close proximity to each other. The bloom is off the rose with a lot of their base audience because they may have, at these prices, have bankrupted themselves already. And then they've had countless issues with who do we know is going to be on those shows? They couldn't even advertise the star of the program, Punk, when they were supposed to because they couldn't get that shit straight. So, and then look at the TV that they are doing. So it's not a mystery as to why the tickets aren't selling. It just takes a while to go over all the different reasons.